Hey guys, welcome back to another pick a card reading. This reading is on who you were in a past life and what you can learn from that past life. So we will be looking in depth at what type of person you were and the life you led, as well as how you can implement the lessons and gifts that you had in that life into this one to evolve and to grow. So we have 4 piles to choose from as usual. Pile 1, 2, 3, and 4. Feel free to pause this video for a moment if you need some time to meditate on which of these groups you feel the most drawn to. And then once you've decided, you can fast forward to the timestamp in the description box below. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and without further ado, we will get started with pile 1. Hey pile 1, welcome to your reading for all of you who chose the blue Apatite crystal. Let's see who you were in a past life. Okay, we will start off with your tarot. Put these off to the side for now. Okay, so we have the King of Swords, the Queen of Swords, Judgment, as well as the Fool. This is a really interesting selection of cards. The first thing that came to mind, especially when I was looking at this King of Swords, was the word official or senior. So maybe in this past life that's coming through, you were a high-ranking official, a senior official, specifically maybe in government or perhaps in the military, okay? Status does seem to be very important or feature prominently here just because we have both the king and the queen, 2 court cards, so you would have been of a high status or a high rank. Perhaps have had a lot of power or a great deal of influence over people, especially when it comes to swords. They deal with the mind, communication. So people would have taken what you said very seriously. And also, I hear that you would have been considered very protective, okay? People would have counted on you, your influence, especially to protect them. So maybe you were a literal lord or, yeah, just someone of a very high rank who could offer people protection and who they would have looked to for influence or guidance. So leadership is a strong theme in this past life, and that could also be something that is showing up for you in this life as well. We have the Fool here. So the Fool, here's what's interesting about this combo is that usually I wouldn't associate the Fool with these other cards because the King of Swords is very wise and mature, whereas the Fool can be immature, but when it's in its enlightened energy, the Fool really just represents thinking independently, basically doing what you want regardless of what other people think. So that is exactly who you would have been. Or maybe it could also be that you sort of struggled with this battle between doing exactly what you want versus and following your freedom, your independence, versus what people expected of you, especially someone of your specific position. And this Judgment card, that could also represent people or you judging yourself or there could have just been a larger weight put on you specifically to be a certain way or to act in a particular way. Another interesting thing that is sort of coming through here especially seeing Judgment and the Fool, is maybe this life was cut short, or there was a sort of change in fate with Judgment here, because Judgment is one of the final cards, whereas the Fool is the beginning card. This is the baby card. So yeah, maybe this life wasn't the longest, but it seems to have been very powerful, especially for the people who knew you, those who you influenced, because again, I do see you having wielded a lot of power or influence over people below you. Another theme that is coming through here with the Fool versus these court cards is a sort of battling against the system, because the Fool is very spontaneous and does what it wants, whereas these kings and queens represent bureaucracy and hierarchy. So maybe there was sort of this struggle, as I mentioned earlier, where you wanted to do something, you wanted to follow your heart, and maybe that involved doing something that was unconventional or that other people would have looked down on. And yeah, so there might have been some sort of tension involving that as well. But again, because you probably were of a higher status, you probably did what you wanted regardless, okay? And as for, you know, fighting against the system, because I see you guys sort of being at the top or higher up on that pecking order, you probably had the power to do what you want, or what you wanted regardless, okay? So let's see some of the oracle cards you got. Okay, we have Grape, Abundance. Yeah, the thing is, you guys are probably well off in this life. You had, or you were surrounded by a lot of beautiful, abundant things. We also have Gratitude. Ooh, this is the Pink Rose, as well as Chives, Divination. Okay, this is really interesting, but you know what I also just thought of when I saw this King and the Queen? Maybe those are representing your parents. Perhaps in this past life you had very overbearing or dominant parents showing up, and then this Fool was you. It could also be that maybe this was you were this king or this queen, and you had a very sort of rambunctious child, okay? Either way, there could be this dynamic as well between parent and child, and tension between that sort of power imbalance, or between asserting one's independence again versus sticking to tradition and being more conservative, all right? This could also just be your struggle against society or expectations as well. But overall, it seems like either way, you had a lot to be grateful for. There was a lot of beauty and richness in your life, specifically you guys being surrounded by beautiful people, beautiful art, your surroundings, environment. I don't think you guys really adventured out, at least outside of the place where you lived. I think it's likely that you were born and lived out your life in the same place, okay? But it was a really nice place, and it seems to have been a bit of a more like simple, laid back life too. And then Divination. This speaks of wisdom. Yeah, maybe some of you guys were wise people, like a wise woman or even a medicinal healer. And again, people would have taken what you said very seriously. Either way, you were clearly someone who was very wise beyond their years, especially if you were on the younger side or your life was cut short. Again, you attained a lot of knowledge and wisdom. And that's a theme here when we have the swords, because as I said, they deal with knowledge, Especially these higher ranking cards, the King and the Queen, are very fair, disciplined, and rational. Okay. Also with divination, maybe you guys were sort of advisors or officials again. Maybe you just offered guidance. People relied on that. Perhaps people in higher ranking positions. So even if you weren't someone of a higher rank, you definitely knew people of a higher rank who would have trusted you and relied on you. All right, for your next cards. So this section is for what you can learn or take away from this past life. We have finding the path. You are the driver and the navigator, as well as simple pleasures. It says, look for beauty that is all around you. Okay, so simplicity is definitely something you can take away from this past life. As I said, I think it was a very much more laid back, relaxed sort of lifestyle that you would have had. You would have been surrounded by beauty, gorgeous surroundings, especially if you lived in a place where there was a lot of flowers, maybe somewhere that was more rural or in the countryside. Or you could have just lived in a very beautiful house as well. But I think that is definitely something that you can take away from this past life, is living with a more simplistic attitude, or applying that approach to the way you think and go about life. This finding the path card, I think this was probably the struggle in this life, was finding that balance between what you wanted to do, your creativity even, as opposed to what people expected of you or what society sort of pushed onto you. So this could be something that you're also struggling with in this life, is sort of finding a clear direction, or even taking life by the horns and just doing what you want, right? You could still be sort of finding your way through that, as opposed to taking the back seat. You are still learning, and you're meant to master that lesson of actually being the driver, okay? And that's the thing, because even if in this life you were in a position to be that driver and to have control, there seems to be some reason or something that was sort of getting in the way of you actually living out all of your desires and being adventurous, okay? So even if you did have a very good life, I'm not necessarily picking up on whether you were happy or not. You could have been very happy or even miserable in this life, but from the outside looking in, it would have seemed to others like it was very abundant and that you had a lot to be grateful for. Okay, and then we also have, a fortune cookie, fortuitous, as well as thunder and lightning, power. I love this card. So yeah, you would have been very powerful. Also, again, this is sort of reminding me of this card, in that maybe finding that balance of exercising power over others and within your own life is something that is still very prominent. That's still a very important theme and challenge that you are carrying over into this life and working with. So yeah, especially when it comes to the right use of power, not using it for selfish means or anything. Not that I think you would have done in your past life. I think you're definitely a very fair person. And again, if people did respect you, it was for a good reason. So yeah. I also said leadership was another thing that was coming through. So again, being the driver, being the leader in your own life, that is sort of the lesson that you can take away from this past life, is how to find that perfect balance. Because I think this was something that came to you more naturally in this life, probably because of the position, whether you were born into it from like a noble family, or whether this was something that you earned and that, you know, through your practice you sort of gain that respect and legitimacy. Either way, I think it's something that you can learn and take away from this reading, is that being a leader, having true power, doesn't necessarily stem from your rank or your position. It stems from the heart. It stems from following your dreams, being that navigator. That's what it's about, is inspiring people as opposed to actually forcefully exerting power over them, if that makes sense. And then fortune cookie. I think one of the gifts that you do have that has carried over from this past life is just amassing fortune or great wealth. That also seems to come to you more naturally than others. This also is very similar to the divination. You guys are naturally psychic and able to see ahead, which is something that has made you very wise and also clear-sighted. You guys have clear vision. I'm getting that a lot of you guys actually have very good eyesight and precision, that kind of sharpness that you get with these swords. Even if you don't, you probably did then. Okay, so yeah, clarity of vision, enlightened leadership. Those are themes and lessons that are definitely carrying over for you now. And this fortune cookie is really about good luck. Similar to this grape, abundance. Maybe you live somewhere actually where grapes grew. Maybe, perhaps somewhere, as I said, that's very beautiful. Perhaps that has a more temperate or mild kind of climate. But yeah, there's just so much abundance and things flourishing around you in your immediate environment. And I am seeing you as a local figure or having a prominent place within your local community. Okay, so yeah, that also means that you would have had closer connections with people, a more kind of intimate trust that people would have had for you, especially if they knew you directly. And yeah, I think that's also just another thing that comes naturally to you, is establishing close connections with people, getting them to open up and trust you. And again, I think a lot of that fortune that you had amassed in this life is carrying over. That's a natural gift that you guys have. And what you're working on mainly pertains to leadership and also finding that balance where you can, again, work with people, work within the system, while also asserting your independence, your freedom, and really following your path, doing what you love. Okay, so I will leave this pile here for now. I hope this was helpful. If you guys liked it, feel free to give this video a thumbs up, comment, or subscribe. I would really appreciate that. And yeah, I hope you guys are having a super amazing day. Stay awesome, and I will see you guys later. Hey, Pile 2, welcome to your reading. For all of you who chose the beautiful Jade, let's see who you were in a past life. So we will start off with your tarot. Set these aside for now. Okay, we have the Three of Pentacles, the Knight of Cups, Ten of Swords, as well as the Two of Pentacles. Okay, so something that I am already getting is that maybe you sort of had a very simple, humble life. There was probably a lot of ups and downs, though. I'm not gonna lie. Seeing the Ten of Swords, this card represents loss, endings, death. So perhaps you experienced a great loss during this life, whether it was financial, like a financial blow. That is very likely, seeing that we go from the Three to the Two of Pentacles. Maybe emotional, because the cups represent water, which is connected to emotions, especially if you lost someone. Either way, there was definitely some kind of hardship that was highlighted here in this life, and it was something that you were forced to overcome and persevere through, all right? And one of the talents or gifts that you had in this life that I think you still have is that ability to persevere, to adapt and change. The Two of Pentacles, this makes me think that while sometimes you might suffer from indecision, you are very careful, and also you can sort of change on a dime. You can change your plans, change your lifestyle. Perhaps that was what you had to do. Maybe you had to downsize, or if you lost someone, you just had to adapt emotionally and sort of regain that emotional balance. Either way, though, yeah, that is definitely a strength that you would have developed and cultivated then, and it's something you still have, is your ability to change, to be flexible, and to adapt to your surroundings or your circumstances. You were also someone who was very gifted. Maybe you were creative, or you sort of had a skill or a trade that was very intricate. Like, I could see some of you guys being wood carvers, perhaps making things. Maybe you were an architect. Some of you guys could have actually possessed the ability to write or to read. There was some kind of skill that you had that was sort of above average, that not everyone else had, that was very unique to you, or just during that time period or place in which you lived. But seeing with the Knight of Cups makes me think that you had something very special to offer or contribute to society, which is interesting. Maybe you were a baker. there was some kind of special skill that you have, and maybe in this life, if there is something that you're just naturally gifted at, that could be a sign that it was something which you developed then in this past life, especially if it's artistic or creative. So let's get into these oracle cards. What do we have? Okay, so we have healing, focus, love, as well as attraction. Cool. You know what I just noticed? We actually have, okay, can you see how in this love card, this is card 30, and we have 3 tomatoes, and then here we have 3 pentacles. There's something very prominent about 3, actually. And we also have 3 of these pansies here in this attraction card. And 3 actually is the number of creativity, of groups. Maybe you were involved in some kind of group or very like cool society. As I said, maybe you were educated and had access to some kind of elite school, or was part of something like that. I think though that this life, this past life, love is a very strong theme, all right? Especially seeing that we have the Knight of Cups, which is sort of that knight in shining armor. The Knight of Cups is very romantic and connected to his emotions. So I think that was probably actually the focus of this life for you. It was love. So whether that was your family or an actual partner, maybe you had a soulmate or a soul love during this lifetime, this past life, which was really the focus. And so especially if you had some loss sort of relating to that, whether you lost someone you loved, it could also be both. Like maybe if there was some kind of financial loss, and then from there, the love that you did have in your life sort of downsized or sort of slipped away, that could have placed a lot of strain on your emotions, on your quality of life. And so your purpose then became to heal, to overcome, to heal yourself and move past it. And that could have also redirected the focus of this life as well, if it had been on love, especially, or I don't know. I think this was a really busy life as well. Like you would have had several projects, a lot of things that you were a part of and very interested in. So yeah, maybe when hardship struck or when you were forced to adapt, your focus completely shifted and you had to then set your direction on healing and not giving up, okay? I think that was definitely the challenge, and that is also the challenge for you now, is to find that own inner sense of motivation to keep going, to not give up, to heal and just overcome challenges, whatever they are, however hard they might seem, okay? What stands out, the thing is, these cards keep standing out to me. We do have Libra on both of them. So relationships were a big thing for you in this life. That could also be a strength that you have, or a special gift that you have in this life, is that ability to form relationships, and especially love relationships. Maybe you have been in quite a few relationships, or it could also be the opposite, where you are finding that partner, that special partner. But I think this attraction card, there was a lot of growth and lessons that you learned in this life, especially if there were hardships that you guys had to deal with, that you were put through. I think you guys were able to overcome it though, despite everything, and still find the beauty, even find the ability to love again too, which is very deep and also just inspiring. I think this past life is definitely an inspirational story that you can always fall back on in times when you need that focus or you need that motivation to keep carrying on. Okay. We also have life's purpose as well as open mind. Okay, so we have seek your own deeper vision for life. So I think actually the life purpose that you had in this past life is the same purpose that you have now. I think that is what you're still working on mastering, again, is perseverance as well as healing too, okay? And this requires keeping an open mind. This is one of your strengths though. This plays to your strengths because, as I said, you are adaptable, you're flexible. This pile has a gift for being able to shift their focus and adapt to their circumstances, especially when it's extreme or dire, you know? So yeah, keeping an open mind is the path towards healing. It says replace the old cycle with a new and exciting one. So in this life, the challenge is obviously different and it's new, but I think the pattern is still the same, or it's a similar kind of path and purpose that you're battling and on the road towards overcoming and finally mastering in this life. Okay, let's see your last ones. We have Omen as well as Seeker. I love the Seeker card. So this also goes hand in hand with life purpose. I think the lesson that you can take away from this past life is to not wait, to learn to change your circumstances, to transform your life, because you have that power. You have free will, and to seek out also love and the direction of your path. That's the thing. I think in this life, you really can do anything. You can set your sights on any goal. I think all roads and directions are open to you, but it's on you to keep an open mind and choose the path that has the most healing potential for you. This Omen card is interesting. Usually that has a more kind of foreboding quality to it. But again, I think it's just about keeping an open mind, using your strengths and gifts that you've already cultivated in this past life to overcome these newer challenges, to seek out your own path, your own unique destiny and purpose in this life, which is, it's new, it's completely different, but it has the same theme of forcing you to overcome, to adapt and change. I also think that love, again, because that was such a strong theme in this past life, I do believe that you guys had great love, whether that was an actual person or family, like you had the perfect family, the perfect partner. It seemed just very simplistic and a very interesting, kind of attractive life, at least at the start, I think these are still things that you will also bring into this life. So if you found love in that past life, or if you had kids, you had a family, you had a lot of people who loved you, a lot of love in your life, I think that is also something that you will keep and carry over into this life as well. So the last thing I want to do for you guys is roll the astro die just to see if there's anything more specific that wants to come through. Okay, so we have Scorpio, South Node, and 10th house. Okay, so Scorpio, yes, transformation. Also, Scorpio is a fixed sign, so I think when we're talking about this focus card, it's really about shifting your focus and realizing the power that you do have to change your life, to change your circumstances, to overcome and to be reborn. Okay, so even though this is the same sort of thing that you're dealing with in this life, it's different in that, like, the circumstances are different and the focus may be different, but the actual pattern is still very similar. And again, this is how you heal. This is how you overcome and grow to eventually master this. And then we also have 10th house, which is all about purpose, legacy. It's also about the career as well. So I think this is asking you to really pay attention to your path, your creativity, things that you're naturally good at, that you've carried over. The South Node deals with our natural gifts and lessons that we've already mastered from past lives, actually. So using those to really advance yourself in this life is really helpful. And also, I think the 10th house, the career could be the site in this life where a lot of these themes are playing out. So overcoming challenges in your career, learning to persevere and not give up, and sort of heal through that could also be part of your purpose in this life, okay? So I will leave this pile here for now. I hope this was helpful. If you guys liked it, feel free to give this video a thumbs up, comment, or subscribe. I would really appreciate that. And yeah, I hope you guys are having a super amazing day. Stay awesome, and I will see you guys later. Hey, pile 3, welcome to your reading for all of you who chose the Amethyst. Let's see who you were in a past life. We will start off with your tarot and then get into your oracle cards. So we have the Page of Wands, or Rods, the Seven of Pentacles, the Chariot, the Seven of Cups, as well as the Queen of Wands. So we have quite a bit of wands. We have the Page, the Seven, oh no wait, the Page and the Queen. But the Chariot is also very kind of fiery, dynamic energy as well. So the immediate feeling that I get when I look at these cards, starting off with the Page, is that you started off from a smaller or more humbler kind of background, okay? Very modest. And through patience, through having a vision or a dream, an idea, also with good luck too, I see you having amassed great wealth or just risen through the ranks very quickly, okay? So this could be military. I think for a lot of you guys though, I'm really seeing great success through little entrepreneurial efforts that would have went a long way. But I think luck is also prominent here as well, or just like through circumstances as well. But I think you guys were very patient and you had an idea which blossomed. I think many of you guys probably struck it rich or started a business. I think probably financial success is the big thing that probably happened, just because of Pentacles, which are associated with material and financial things. And the Chariot, so patience, self-initiation. You guys would have just kick-started or gone out and started something, okay? That is a quality that is probably one of your strengths in this life as well, which is if you want something, you just go for it. You guys can be very fearless. The Chariot has that kind of conquering energy. It just goes out, it does its thing. It can also be kind of competitive as well. Like maybe you had competitors, you bought out competitors, you were victorious against others. But yeah, I definitely see you guys having upgraded from the Page of Wands all the way to the Queen. So the Queen is very prosperous. She's just a great example of leadership. I think also for some of you guys who were women especially, you probably succeeded in a man's world. So maybe you were able to achieve a position of power that was sort of off limits or closed to women. That is possible. But the Queen of Wands, she is empowerment. She is confidence, and also she's very generous too. So I think you guys would have lived, once you did achieve success, wealth, just great heights. Like, this doesn't have to necessarily be business or material success that you achieved. It could also be that you guys had other kinds of success. For instance, maybe you published great works of like writing. It could also be more creative as well, because the wands also are associated with that. But I think for a lot of you guys, this is probably like you were an entrepreneur. You rose through the ranks. You struck it rich. And I can see you guys, especially, you know, closer to when you become mature and after you have been very patient and lucky, being part of a circle of people who were also wealthy or who would have been at this kind of court, you know, like having a circle of other people who would have also had the same kind of wealth, but maybe had inherited it or just been more privileged. I don't know. Something that does jump out to me though is that we have 2 7s, and then we also have the Chariot, which is card 7. So we have actually 3 7s in your reading, and 7 is the number of spirituality, spiritual mastery, and development. That is something that was also a theme for you in this life. I think because you were very generous as well, you gave back a lot of what you earned. You could have been a philanthropist or started different charities, but you seem to have been a very like giving person as well. You had a lot to give too. So I think that kind of corresponds with the number 7 in that you always remembered your humbler or more modest beginnings or background, and that would have shaped the way you interacted with people. That would have helped you gain respect, and also people, you know, looking to you as a source of inspiration or as an example. But also, of course, 7 is a very lucky number. So again, I think you probably had a lot of luck in combination with hard work and patience, of course, okay? So let's get into these oracle cards. But honestly, this seems like a fire past life. I think this is super cool. And it's not even like you achieved against all odds, but it was a lot of it had to do with luck, as well as your persistence in your idea or your dream, okay? So we have refinement, Dahlia. Victory, yes, victory. Also, I like that we have that under the Chariot card. You guys were victorious. You had a lot of wins, a lot of achievements to be proud of from this life, as well as wholeness, Black Mulberry. Okay, also, both of these cards are master numbers, card 44 as well as 33, which tells me that you mastered success and winning in this past life. You mastered filling yourself up, achieving wholeness with this Queen of Wands. That was your ultimate achievement, is that position and also that inspiration that you gave back to others. So yes, this does seem to have been a very fruitful past life. You would have accomplished a lot, especially if you did, you know, start off with more humble or modest means. And I think, again, that's just one of your talents, even in this life, is kind of getting what you want. As I said earlier with the Chariot, self-initiation, just going after something, not being afraid of just setting out, even if it's by yourself, to accomplish or conquer your dreams, your goals. Let's see what else we have too. Okay, so we have this part of the reading is for what you can learn and take away from this past life. Okay, we have live in the moment, what you are looking for is with you, as well as determination, perseverance leads to fortune. Okay, interesting. Okay, so live in the moment. That is something that you're learning in this life. And I think it's because, again, being very successful, knowing how to accomplish your dreams, attain success, etc. I think it's that you have always been more prone to looking too far, too deep into the future and thinking about what you will have attained once you reach a certain age, or I don't know, once you accomplish blank, right? So one of the things that this past life is emphasizing here is to live in the moment. It says what you're looking for is with you. You guys will have fortune and abundance regardless of your circumstances, especially in this life. You've earned it. And I think a lot of these like victories, I think this past life that we're talking about was the time for you to accomplish these victories, to find wholeness and prove to yourself that you could actually do it. Okay? You're a very confident person, I would think, pile 3. You know what you're capable of. You know you can achieve really great things when you set your mind to it. So the purpose for this life and the lesson here is to not focus so much on what you don't have and like accumulating or just, going out and conquering more things, but rather to look towards what you already have and to go from there. Another interesting message that's coming through actually with this refinement card, this goes hand in hand sort of with this 7 of Pentacles, because this card is about patience, waiting for these fruits to ripen. And then for refinement, it's similar. It's involving this kind of cultivation process. So something that might have happened for a few of you guys in this past life is maybe you changed your identity because you were cultivating a kind of brand, right? Whether that was entrepreneurial again or other projects that you achieved great success in, or these victories, right? But yeah, maybe it was also that because again, you're trying to prove to yourself that you could make it, or that you could be someone, you could rewrite your history and become a different person. It's possible that you changed identities and became someone new. And that was part of this journey towards you finding wholeness and becoming this Queen of Wands, right? Which is interesting. I don't know, maybe you traveled and amassed great wealth in a different country, and then also throughout that sort of worked on becoming a new person as well. What's interesting here though is that I think no matter how much you would have achieved or continually succeeded in success after success, there was still this emptiness or this question of you not feeling whole enough. And that's why what you're meant to learn in this lifetime is that no matter how much you achieve, no matter how much you go out to find something new or to find something else to conquer, right? What you have is already with you. You are whole on your own. You don't need anything or anyone to become this Queen of Wands, okay? You already are her, regardless of whether you win or you lose, okay? That's one of the lessons. That's actually the main lesson here. And then let's see your final cards. Ooh, okay, we have the Wheel of Fortune, Fate, as well as crystals, healing. Yeah, I think the last pile also got a healing card, which makes sense. There's always, we all have healing to do with one or all of our past lives. Even one that seems as fortuitous and prosperous as this one. Because again, what you guys are working on is healing that sense of you feeling empty or feeling the need to keep filling yourself up with other things that are external. That's part of your spiritual development, I think, and why we have so many sevens here. It's because you guys are naturally very generous and very giving, and that cycle is sort of like a flow of exchange. So you end up amassing a great amount of knowledge, wealth, successes, but that's never really enough. So maybe in this life it's less about achieving success and more so about love, or more so about finding wholeness through relationships, or even your relationship with yourself. What I actually think is that because you mastered this in this past life of yours, you mastered that ability to succeed and to win, to go after your dreams, and you live to see your dreams, even if they were pipe dreams or they seemed really out of your reach, you actually live to see them actualize in this lifetime. So I feel as though the focus of this lifetime and the purpose here is to switch directions, because you have already mastered something else in this past life. So if you were to go down the same or similar path in this lifetime, you still wouldn't find the same wholeness. It wouldn't be as fulfilling because you already have learned how to do that, so you wouldn't be growing. Okay? I think the Wheel of Fortune and your fate rests in a completely opposite direction, actually. Yeah, keep that in mind in this lifetime. If you were to go in the same direction, even though you have these natural gifts and talents already, if you're doing the same thing, life would just be dull. It wouldn't be, you wouldn't find this kind of healing towards wholeness and being in the moment. So I don't know, I think if you chose this pile, the point of this life and the lesson here is to go in an opposite direction and focus on what you already have. Also, this crystal healing card, maybe working with crystals would be a really good idea, especially if you find that there are certain crystals that you have a natural affinity for. It's possible you worked with those crystals in this past life, or you have that kind of soul memory embedded with them. So pay attention to that. If there are certain crystals that you have always felt drawn to, that could be a sign that those specific energies are what you should embrace more of, or move in the direction of for this life, okay? So I will leave this pile here for now. I hope I covered most of it. If you liked it, feel free to give this video a thumbs up, comment, or subscribe. I would really appreciate that. And yeah, I hope you guys are having a super amazing day. Stay awesome, and I will see you guys later. Hey, pile 4, welcome to your reading for all of you who chose the Angelite. Let's see who you were in a past life. start off with your tarot. Okay, we have Temperance, the Seven of Swords, the Magician, as well as the Nine of Cups. Okay. Okay, I have to be honest with you guys. The first impression that I got from these cards was that in a past life, in this past life, you weren't necessarily the greatest person. Not that you were a bad person, but you may have screwed people over or taken advantage in some way. You may have stolen or really just taken advantage, okay? Because we have the Seven of Swords. Maybe you were greedy or you sort of used people. It's not really clear what you did, but I have a feeling like you definitely benefited or profited at the expense of others, all right? This is actually very interesting because I think in most of my readings, I haven't actually ever in a past life reading gotten the message that that someone was a bad person or that, because I generally focus on the positives. But there is a very kind of sharp message here that you weren't perfect, okay? You definitely may have engaged in things that were illegal or kind of shady. This could have been a shady past life. Yeah, I don't know quite what it was, but really I am seeing you guys taking advantage of a situation or of people, okay? Specifically, I can't really put my finger on it, but yeah, that's the feeling that I get so far. The Magician is the figure who knows how to use resources. He's the alchemist. So possibly you used people, you used resources to your advantage. Not that that's a bad thing. I mean, another feeling that I am getting is perhaps you lived during a time or in a place where there was suffering, where things weren't so great to begin with, and maybe you were surrounded by that, so it didn't seem like a big deal. That is a feeling that I get because it's possible that if you did do bad things in this past life, for those of you who chose this pile, it could be that maybe to you it didn't seem that way. It could have seemed as though you were doing what you thought to be right, or you were doing what you had to survive. But I think there's definitely some trauma here from this life that is carrying over. But it seems very kind of cryptic. Maybe also you lived during a time where that we don't actually know that much about, that there's little historical record on. So for instance, maybe the early Middle Ages, or during a time where that we just don't know that much about. So it can be sort of hard to place who you were or like what happened to you. But I think a strong possibility is that you were doing what you did to survive, or just because you didn't see it as wrong, okay? So that is something I want to point out here, because I'm not trying to vilify you or who this person was. But I think it is worth noting though that, because everyone does bad things. No one is perfect. Even people who do a lot of good out in the world have at some point purposely or inadvertently hurt others or benefited at their expense. So yeah, even if you weren't perfect here, it is something to really think about, because I think there is probably a lot of karma here surrounding this past life and definitely influencing the choices you make now in this life, okay? Especially if this lifetime is sort of meant to reverse this karma, or yeah, for you guys to find this balance and to go about a completely opposite path where you can balance that good side and that tendency towards, I don't know, cheating or doing bad things, okay? Yeah, I'm not necessarily getting that many specifics here, but I can tell you right off the bat, you are probably not the not the greatest person in your past life. But that's okay, because you have the opportunity in this life to undo a lot of this karmically and to do good now, okay? And that's the thing also about past lives, but in general, we can't undo mistakes. We can only learn from them and just try to be better in the future. So that is definitely part of the healing here. So let's get into your oracle cards. What do we have? All right, we have protection, clarity, as well as purification. So I think that there's not a lot of clarity, again, on who this person was, or even like the time or the place that this person was positioned in history. But I can tell you that healing from this and self-purification can lead to clarity. It can help with clarity in this life. And I think you have divine protection. Temperance, you can see her angel wings. I think there's sort of a purpose that you have to fulfill in this lifetime, which is divinely guided as part of that restoration, or, you know, as part of a larger process to sort of undo this trauma. And as I said, I think it's possible that this could be a part of a collective trauma that you experienced in this past life. So for instance, as I mentioned, if this was a time of great suffering collectively, or there was starvation, people suffered financially, or even with disease, there seems to be something bigger going on, something deeper to this picture that is greater than you. And so you're a part of it, you're still a part of it, and in this life, the main lesson here is to be better and even to protect people as well. I mean, you have divine protection in this life to carry out your purpose for good. But I think you're also meant to protect those who otherwise, maybe in this past life, you would have screwed over or, I don't know, taken advantage of again, right? So yeah, your soul is it's undergoing a process of self-purification, reversing and healing deep-seated soul wounds and scars. And I think this is also, as I said, part of a collective thing that may be happening here. Another interesting thing, maybe you guys were a priest in a past life. Because the message earlier that I was getting is that maybe if you did do bad things in this past life, it's possible that you thought you were acting from a place of doing good. And I don't know, this seems to be just because priests, but anyone who believes they're acting from a place of serving God, whenever that happens, there is always that potential to justify or use it to justify atrocities or just awful things, right? But I mean, hey, it doesn't have to be that necessarily. This could also be something as you could have been a scammer. You could have been a con artist in a past life. It doesn't matter who you were or what you did, right? Just the fact that you definitely screwed something up, pile 4. You have the potential in this life for redemption, okay? I think a lot of you guys are given a second chance. Ooh, something I just noticed. We have 1 here and 1 here. So we have 2 1s in this reading. So 1 is the number of unity, solidarity, new beginnings. This could be your new start. This life could, as I said, just be a new chance for your soul, for healing, and for actually gaining clarity. All right, let's keep going. The thing is, this is a really juicy reading. I don't know why, but I just think it's really fascinating because we all know that historically there's always people who somehow like fucked up or did something wrong. And you know, sometimes we know people like that, and sometimes they're related to us, and there's nothing we can do but use them as an example of what to not be, or, you know, to how, what not to do, and to therefore look to the future and focus on the good that we can do, all right? So I think another part of this, another lesson that is carrying over into this life perhaps, is self-forgiveness. Learning to forgive yourself. And that's one of the hardest lessons, I think, because we are our worst critics. And no matter how it looks to other people from the outside, it's never as bad as we think it is on the inside. So that is another thing that you guys are learning in this lifetime, is how to forgive yourself and seek consolation through that. Okay, so we have do not be frustrated, let go and feel peaceful, as well as ending a trauma, transform memories and symptoms. Okay. So we have another angel actually in this card too, with the star. Yeah, this is representing hope, optimism, the future, a divine path, healing, and really peace. I think that's your mission in this life, as well as healing. Yeah, so maybe for some of you guys, you will enter into a profession where you heal others and through that yourself as well. Whether that's being a doctor, a therapist, even a teacher, like helping people, or I don't know, a veterinarian. That could be one of the ways that you go about this in this lifetime. Could be through your profession, the actions that you do that influence others. I think you guys definitely have a purpose in this life to not only heal yourself, but to help heal others as well. It is, as I said, it's part of this collective healing and trauma, especially from a time period, this time period in which you may have lived, where, as I said, there just seemed to be a lot of suffering in general. Yeah, there's a lot of mystery also surrounding that, I think. I know I said this would be a past life from a time where there is little known about it, and so maybe we shouldn't judge it, we shouldn't judge you, we shouldn't jump to any conclusions or assumptions here. But I think for that reason, though, in this life, you guys are empathic, you have the natural ability to help heal people, to spread optimism, to protect people, and to finally find peace as well. So let's find out and see what your last cards are. We have Candle, Illumination, and Wishbone, Affirmation. Okay, so a lot is being uncovered. I think you guys, the thing is, as I said, if you chose this pile, there is a lot of deep-seated trauma or just baggage that will need to be worked out through shadow work and, of course, with time. But a lot of this, a lot of clarity and illumination can be achieved through overcoming and letting go. Really just letting go and transforming yourself. And I think that's the power of the Wishbone card too, because you guys are sure as hell not repeating yourself in this lifetime. This lifetime is something new, something different, and you have the opposite purpose. I think you're choosing, but also we know how the wishbone is sort of a divine sign when we break it, that this is the direction we're meant to go in. So it's not only about you guys choosing this life and choosing which action to take, but it's also a sign from the universe, the divine, that they have your back this time, that you have love, you are loved, you're supported, and you're doing good. You're on the road to healing, self-illumination, and forgiveness, okay? So I will leave this reading here. This was actually really deep. Yeah, I felt deeply moved by this pile, so I hope you guys liked it and took something away from it. If you liked it, feel free to give this video a thumbs up, comment, or subscribe. I would really appreciate that. And yeah, I hope you guys are having a super amazing day. Stay awesome, and I will see you guys later.